It's Peter Principle is that notion of, I'll try to define it without looking at a Wikipedia page, promoting people beyond their level of competence to their level of competence. So that's either direct promotions or giving people assignments that you know that they're going to be a competent. And so have you seen it? Have you done it? How do we defend against it? And it's a 360 view of the Peter Principle.
One of the issues that I see is a belief that I, as a leader, must be infallible. So if we go back to the quarterback and the first round picks, you're going to get it wrong sometimes. You spend a lot of money, you hire all these scouts, you have those players in for meetings, you run them through the workouts, you test them, you do everything you can, you poke your prod, you do everything, you talk to their peewee football coach. You do everything you can. You're going to be wrong sometimes.
You would think that leaders in organizations would lead, but what I've found is most leaders in organizations, they're afraid of having these conversations. That it's so much easier to promote and then ignore any issues than it is to, do the hard work of mentoring, placement, interviewing effectively. And then if you have a problem, facing the problem, like Josh is saying, there's an avoidance. Entry music, da 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh show.
I am sure that somewhere in your journey, either you or somebody you've worked with has been promoted to a position where it didn't go as well as you'd hoped. There's a whole theory out there, a principle, if you will, that this is called the Peter Principle. So that's today's topic. Bob, have you ever been down that path?
For you out there in France, the Peter Principle.
It's just it's horrible.
I know. And Metacasters, Josh and I were talking, it's Peter Principle is that notion of, I'll try to define it without looking at a Wikipedia page, promoting people beyond their level of competence to their level of competence. So that's either direct promotions or giving people assignments that you know that they're going to be a competent. And so have you seen it? Have you done it? How do we defend against it? And it's a 360 view of the Peter Principle. So have you worked with people in your organization that report to you that have gotten, petered? Are there peers, Peter peers? And then Peter bosses. Have you worked for someone who you're like, oh my God, I could do their job better than they're doing their job. And Josh and I, I'm going to beat him to the punch. Josh and I are living as I could do his job. No, I won't. I won't say it. I cannot do the technical job. So Josh and I have a nice alignment where he's the technologist and a podcaster, and I'm along for the ride. So I am not going to insult him today because I can't do his job.
So I have a spicy take here.
Okay.
I believe that the Peter Principle is inevitable, and it kind of has to happen. You have to find out where somebody's really maxed out. And I don't know of another way to really find that out without having some flavor of this happen. I think if you were just to imagine a professional athlete, they are going to go as far as they can. They're going to get to a spot where maybe they aren't as fast as everybody else. So we'll just talk track. We'll just say it's like track, right? You are going to run races and you're going to keep winning races. And at some point, you're going to get in a race where everybody's faster than you. And there's not a lot you can do about it. And then that's when you learn, oh, okay, this is about where I belong. This is where I fit. There's a whole nother level. There's a whole nother stratosphere of Olympic athletes that I'm not at that tier, but you know what? I'm pretty darn good. I'm pretty fast in my state. And so I think this has to happen. The problem that I believe is that people unfortunately get left in those positions for too long, or there's this all in where we're all in on putting this person on this Olympic track team and they just don't belong there. And so then that person gets stuck. And that's bad for everybody. That's bad for the team. That's bad for the person themselves. It just becomes a challenging situation. So that was my spicy bit.
That was pretty darn spicy. I'm just going to call bullshit on it. Oh,
Do we finally have the disagreement we've been looking for?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I call, and that's a serious bullshit. I think it's lazy. I get what you're saying. I fully get what you're saying. I'll bring it to football. So your favorite, or your
you're gonna try.
He's
gonna try and dumb it down for Josh by putting it in football.
No. It's not dumbing it down. It's quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's quarterbacks. You acquire a number 1 first round quarterback, and you bring them in, and you put them in a situation where they will fail. How often does that happen every season?
Right.
Quite a bit, right? Oh, they're number 1 and they wanted a lot of money. Oh, and we don't have a good quarterback, or etc. And so what I'm poking at is, I think it's lazy that you put someone in a risk position. And so what's the counterpoint? Coach them, mentor them, teach them, carefully put them in a position. Like, I don't think there should be failure, Josh. I think if leaders are doing their job and promoting people carefully and growing people carefully and mentoring people carefully, which is your job. So I think a Peter Principle is a get jail free card for lazy leaders. Oh, I'll promote Josh.
Yeah.
And I'll see how he does. Right. And I don't even know if he can do the job, or actually I have serious doubts. But you know what? I don't want to. Now I'm doing the job. So even half of me, a half job, is better. It won't bug me as much, and we'll see what happens. So I throw Josh in there. And I think that's what I see in a lot of Peter Principles. I've actually seen managers promote people to get them out of their hair. Right. Bob is underperforming. So what are my choices? I can fire Bob. I can pip Bob, or, drum roll please, I can promote Bob and get him out of my hair. And I've seen that more times than I care to even count. And to me, and I know that's an extreme, but that's laziness. So I'm not buying it. That's a natural progression. The other thing is then, it doesn't work. No, we should both know that it doesn't work out because we're growing together. So I called bullshit on your spiciness. So react back.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to communicate, not well enough yet, is that you don't really understand someone's maximum capabilities until they've stretched and failed. As a leader, everything you're saying, Bob, is that it's your responsibility to dip the toe in the water, test those things out. And if it's not working, have an extraction plan or something like that. We're like, okay, cool. We tried this, didn't work. Let's go back here. Not let's lean in more, which is, I understand. We've all seen those situations where a person gets put in a position and is left there, and it's good for no one. Now, that is a leadership issue. A really good leader is going to continue to try to stretch people, try and give them opportunities, try and coach them, try and help them. And they're going to hit their head on the ceiling. You have to recognize when that ceiling is hit, whether it's, I can't do this, or, oh my gosh, this is not something I want to do. I don't actually enjoy this. This sounded great until I was given the opportunity. And now that I'm given the opportunity, I actually hate this. And this is horrible. And I would prefer to go back to doing what I like to do. So to me, it is the difference between active leadership and passive leadership, where, to Bob's point, I'm going to solve this problem by just putting you over there. And we'll just put it over there. And I don't care what mess it is. It's just like, it's out of sight, out of mind, and problem solved. I don't have to worry about it now. So I think a really good leader, scratch that. I believe a great leader pushes people towards their failure point and finds that maximum performance, maximum capability. So I hope I did a good enough job reframing what I was saying.
I mean, I understand. I still think there's a laziness factor associated with it of pre-vetting. So, for example, let's take it. There's a part of the Peter principle. Let's say we're looking for CEOs. The current CEO, you see this in the landscape. A CEO failed of a company. The company's doing, and the board fires the CEO. And sometimes a board member will become the CEO. So that's at least vetted. Uh, Very often there's a CEO search. And quite often, I don't know what the percentages are, but quite often they have an exhaustive CEO search. They bring in a CEO, maybe from another corporate culture or product domain, business domain, and maybe 30% of the time it doesn't work out. Uh, I'm at Apple and I bring in someone from Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
What as part of me is like, well, what the hell are you thinking? Right. I mean, yes, they could be. So have you really vetted? I'm bringing in someone from Nachos, right? Nachos Inc. into high tech. Now I remember, who was it? Was it someone at Apple they brought in?
It
That
was
actually
someone in
didn't.
marketing.
Yeah, it didn't work out. Actually, that was an example. I think it didn't work out, or Jobs came back. I think the guy that kicked Jobs out of Apple then got kicked out because he didn't work out from a tech. But that's my point is, in the internal development, proper mentoring, etc. In the external, it's, did you exhaustively hire someone? Did you really run them through a situational interview? Did you do your legwork to talk, to exhaustively interview other people, etc., particularly when you knew that there was a stretch there? Or did you just throw them in and say, you know what, it's easier just to hire them, right? Well, I mean, we did some moderate vetting, but then it's like, good, we have someone in there, and you know what, it's a coin toss. Will it work out or not? So that's sort of Peter Principle in that way. And I think you can't, I think there's a naturalness to it. Like, people will hit their threshold, but I think we could minimize. I see it everywhere, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
I see Peter Principle folks everywhere, right? At,
Yeah,
at the management level and at the executive and everywhere in between. And so I think what I'm reacting is, yes, there's a natural part to it, but you could probably exclude 70% of it by just doing your job.
yeah, and to me, that's the largest issue, and that's one of the most common situations that I walk into when I'm hired as a coach or a fractional CTO, whatever it might be. When I come in to address a problem, everybody knows the problem, everybody knows the issue, but no one's willing to actually do the work to remove the person. So, from my perspective, that's the work. That's what you do. That's the job. Somebody's in the wrong seat. So you have to work with them to find the right seat. Oftentimes the answer is like, the seat's not on the bus. Maybe the seat's just like a different seat or back to where they were or something like that. Unfortunately, our industry, I don't even think it's the industry that we're in. I think it might just be like the society has an issue with giving people the feedback they need to hear.
Yeah.
And uh, I understand it's scary. I understand it's not easy, uh, but there's no other way for you to solve the problem. So our society, our industry, whatever it is horrible at when something has been recognized as a personnel problem, actually doing something about it. Like, the number of times where I've been hired by a board or an executive to come in and they say to me like, "Hey, um, we're pretty sure the CTO we have or the VP of engineering we have isn't the right person, but we're not sure. So can you come in and help us validate that and then help us solve that problem?" They already know the answer. They're just unsure how to like actually address the issue. So I come in and I help them. Okay, cool. So we understand this isn't a good fit. What are we going to do about it? What have you done about it? It's like, oh, well, we haven't really done anything about it. Okay, well, that's the issue. That's what we got to do. So I end up helping them work through how we handle the situation. And you know what? The number of times I've ended up having a discussion with a person and they're like, yeah, I know. I don't love the situation that I am. I don't really like this role that I've been put in. I know I'm
Exactly.
not good at it. Thank you. I'm so happy someone's here to like help me figure this out is about 95%. So 95% of the time the person knows it and they're actually just like waiting for somebody to throw them a life vest and help them out as well. So it's amazing when you just actually address the situation, that same person's like, whew, this is so much better. I am actually excited about my future here because it's been tough. It has not been fun. I've been doing my best, and everybody always has. But gosh, this is not what I thought it was. I'm not as good at this as I thought I was going to be. Thank goodness. I'm very happy we have a plan to figure this out. Whatever that plan is, it doesn't matter what the plan is, but just the fact that it's addressed and there's positive movement, everybody's on board with it.
Absolutely. I think it's an important thing that there's this awareness is another aspect of the Peter principle, and there's organizational awareness or team awareness of the issue, that but there's a lack of action. I think that's another, sort of part of it. I've I've worked for people one way. I could do my boss's job better than my boss. If you've ever said that, if you've ever heard someone say that, it's probably an indicator that the Peter principle is in action. And maybe not an emotional thing, so not a one-time thing. But if you hear trends like that, I've seen it all the time. Organizations avoid. It's weird. You would think that leaders in organizations would lead, but what I've found is most leaders in organizations, they're afraid of having these conversations. That it's so much easier to promote and then ignore any issues than it is to, do the hard work of mentoring,
Yeah.
placement, interviewing effectively, and then if you have a problem, facing the problem, like Josh is saying. There's an avoidance, but very often is you hire someone like Josh or I to come in, and it's weird. It's not on our resume. I don't think I say cleanup artist. Clean up on aisle 5. Call Bob Galen, and I'll come in to do that. But I can't tell you how many times that's the outcome folks are looking for. They're looking for someone else to make the hard decisions for them. Um, and I don't know about you, Josh, but I'll do that. But I'm also trying to challenge those
Mhm.
leaders as well. They have to grow. They can't
Yeah.
always,
Right.
right? I'm not doing my job if I do the hard work for them and I don't challenge them back.
Yeah, I don't know where I learned it. I wish I could give credit to whoever injected it into my brain, but I've always tried to operate with the hire slow, fire fast model. And it is unfortunately the other way around in many places where people are quick to hire and then slow, if not stagnant, in addressing personnel problems. So I agree. I have unfortunately turned into a cleanup artist in the work that I do. Um, I I wouldn't say that I enjoy it, but it's a skill that I've developed. So, uh, Bob, you've seen Pulp Fiction, right?
I have.
Uh, Winston Wolfe. I often feel like Winston Wolfe. So if you remember when a couple guys get into some serious trouble, they don't know what to do. They've got a big mess on their hands. They call their boss, and the boss is like, "We're calling in Winston Wolfe." And then like, "Oh, you called in the wolf?" So that has been where I've landed in my career of like, okay, cool. We're stuck. Here's how we're gonna get out. And um, I wouldn't say it's a overly enjoyable thing because you come in and you're doing a bit of cleanup, but it's a skill that I've developed, and it's not even a skill. I think it's just a willingness to have the discussions that need to be had.
I would put it at that. It's the willingness to be a leader, to have the hard conversations, uh, to take the hard actions. Uh, After due diligence, so we're not coming in and just flopping, making decisions on superficial feedback. It's come in and do that. um, in some cases it's forcing the organization or encouraging the organization. I remember once as a coach, there was a CEO, so I was part of a coaching team, and we went in and we were introducing agile, and they had a PMO team, a project management team, and they were converting, which is not a bad decision. They were converting project managers to Scrum Masters, and so they were changing the PMO organization to be Scrum Master oriented, maybe a little bit of product oriented things, or organized, focused and things like that. And they wanted us to tell them which project managers to fire. Basically, which one they wanted us to assign red and green, like who had the potential to be agile, green, and who did. They wanted a red green list.
Yeah.
And we said no in that case. I mean, we could have made good guesses. We were working enough with the team that we could have made relatively valid, sort of assignments. And but they were avoiding it. The CEO the senior leadership was avoiding being leaders. I think the reason we said no is not that we were obstinate. It's like, what are you talking about? That's your job, right? You need to do your job.
Right.
And we went back and forth that way. I mean, we can do training. We can tell you who's struggling, but we're not going to tell you who to fire. That's a leadership job. That's a leadership role in your organization. They were looking for a scapegoat to make the decision for them. And I'm proud of ours. They were paying us a lot of money, so there was impetus for us to just do what they were asking. They eventually kicked us out earlier than we had projected, and I think that was one of the reasons that we weren't being used as sort of the default scapegoat leadership for them, so that they didn't have to make those hard decisions.
One of the issues that I see is a belief that I, as a leader, must be infallible. So if we go back to the quarterback and the first round picks, you're going to get it wrong sometimes. You spend a lot of money, you hire all these scouts, you have those players in for meetings, you run them through the workouts, you test them, you do everything you can, you poke your pride, you do everything, you talk to their peewee football coach, you do everything you can. You're going to be wrong sometimes. So much of the Peter principle, why I started with the spicy take of it's kind of natural, is that I am very comfortable with the reality that I could be wrong. So I start to bake into like, okay, cool, we're going to try this. If this doesn't work, if I'm wrong, because I believe this person can do it, but you don't know until they're actually in the game, they're executing, they're living in that role, understanding what it is. You have to have a pre-planned exit to where like, okay, cool. If this doesn't work, what am I going to do about it? How are we going to manage this? And too many leaders, I believe, are uncomfortable with like, oh, yep, I screwed that up. This is the decision that we made. We're going with it. And, damn it, it's going to work.
And it's a partnership. What's the quarterback? He was hired by or drafted by the Jets, I think, and failed. And a lot of people fail with the Jets.
Yeah.
So, and then he went, I think, to Minnesota.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. And he was successful.
Yeah.
And there's a coach in Minnesota, I forget his name, who is like a quarterback whisperer and a scheme. He's so a good coach.
Yeah.
And my point is, right, it takes two as well. Like a lot of teams, they draft a quarterback and they know that they don't have a good system, or they have a sucky offensive line, and so they put all of the accountability. The Peter principle is put all that on that person, and it's what I'm talking about. You put them in a system like Sam Darnold. The Jets could have handled that differently. They could have hired a real good offensive coordinator. They could have waited. Put Josh in the game for 2 years as a quarterback. What? Well, you can take a licking and keep on taking, John.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. It's so what I'm trying to say is management plays such a part in the growth and evolution of people, but we just discard that responsibility. Oh, throw them in. They're a number one pick. Sink or swim. It's on them. And they don't make it co-creative.
Yeah, the environment has such a large part to play in the success that someone can have, which is
Even the
why I think you see
CEO.
players, like players find new life on different teams. And it's not
Yeah.
just the team, it's the organization and the culture that they have and the training staff that they just the whole, and sometimes even the fan base makes a difference,
Yeah.
where all of those things. And so, yeah, it's a
And I don't think the
challenging thing.
player, I don't think Sam Darnold was different.
Right.
I think it was the same. I mean, maybe he practiced a little more,
Yeah.
but I think it's the same damn Sam Darnold. It was Sam Darnold Jets and then Sam Darnold Minnesota. So
Yeah.
he's not different. It's a culture or the environment, the ecosystem around here. So again, Peter Principle over here, incompetent. Peter Principle over here, not. No, we're managing that, and someone is thriving.
So back to my point about
The spiciness, yes. Let's come back to spicy.
well, I just want to work with this. So Sam had to fail in New York for the Jets for him to land in Minnesota and be successful.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's a little bit where you have to run up against something like, ooh.
All right. Hold it. Metacasters, drum roll, please. Josh, you're right.
I don't believe this is true.
No. It's not one answer.
Yeah.
We're talking, I think the ecosystem for Peter Principles and evolution, learning evolution, leadership involvement, etc. I think you're right. There's a naturalness to it.
Yeah. The problem is that most folks, what's the right word? Most folks don't recognize when a change needs to be made. Or let me correct that. They recognize when a change needs to be made, but they're like, oh, we're stuck with this.
We're stuck.
What am I going to do? I can't do anything about this. You can. It's not fun. It's hard.
But
it's going to upset some people, but it's what you need to do.
What's that? But it's also look yourself in the mirror too. And what part did you play in the failure?
Right.
And learn from that, I think, is a counterpoint as well. But I agree with you, Josh. I'm smirking when I say it, but I'm also I'm smirky sincere.
So let me give folks an example of learning from it. Every hire that I've made that hasn't turned out the way I want it to be, there is a lesson, don't do that again. Like, I have clear understanding of what I didn't see, what I didn't inspect well enough, and that has altered the way I hire folks. Here's a classic example. There was an insanely smart person that I hired that I was enamored with how smart this person was. They came in, interviewed reasonably well, but I just knew like they were, one of the top schools in the country and all of this stuff. They were sick when they came in to do interviews, the whole hiring process. So their personality wasn't their normal personality, because they weren't feeling well. And they even said that during the process of like, hey, listen, I'm not feeling great. Like, I'm not going to get you sick, but I'm a little under the weather. I'm not feeling fully myself. Well, when they were feeling fully themselves, they were a completely different person that was very disruptive to the organization, all these various things, because their energy was back or whatever it was. So their energy was down. But when their energy was there, very disruptive personality, very, just not a great team fit. So now whenever I interview somebody and they're not feeling well, they're coming off of a sickness or a cold or something like that. Okay, cool. Great. Feeling pretty good about this. When you're feeling better, let's chat again. Let's talk through something else again, because that's a lesson where that energy level wasn't there, and I didn't get a clear picture of who that person really was. And so that's now one of those lessons that I've learned. but I've altered the way that I operate whenever I'm going through a hiring process. So yeah, you got to learn.
Absolutely. I got a little bit of an interrupt, Metacasters, so
That's okay.
I was getting interrupt from downstairs, but
I
agree. It's what he said. I agree.
Anything else we need to cover here?
I think I'd like to land with be vigilant. There's a virus out in industry, in business, in agility, in leaders. Maybe Peter Principle, i.e., accountability avoidance, hard decision making avoidance. Don't fool. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, and I'm not trying to fire everyone up to go do something immediately, but be aware of it. Be aware of it in your behavior. Are you applying Peter Principle? Are you growing and being due diligent? Are you helping people to grow? Are you dealing with failure situations quickly and humanely and professionally? And what at least I see, I can't speak for Josh, but I see a lot of this stuff, and we can do better. That's all. My call is, wherever you're at in your sphere of influence, take a Peter Principle survey, and then try to do better if you can, because we can do better.
The last piece I want to leave folks with is that this unfortunately happens with some of the most talented people, and people are afraid to talk to that person, afraid to give them the feedback that hey, this isn't working, because they're worried about that person leaving, getting upset, going like, oh, well, fine, then I'm out of here. I'll take my talents elsewhere, whatever the saying is. And those are the folks that I find really relish the feedback and really relish the opportunity to learn and grow, because they've achieved a level of success by learning. And so you're helping them learn and get better. But so often, insanely talented people that just everybody's been afraid to give them the feedback that they need. So be courageous, not only for yourself, for your organization, but for that person. Help them out.
Oh my God. Mic drop. Metacasters. What he said. So, from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And beautiful downtown Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.